Welcome back to Sawtooth Tactical. We are potentially on the precipice of a major threat to our Second Amendment rights. This week, the Supreme Court is hearing the Garland v. Vanderstock case, also known as the frames and receivers rule or the ghost gun case. And whether you care about ghost guns, whether you care about 80% firearms, like 80% Glock kits, 80% AR-15 lowers or not, this case has bigger ramifications than you may think. And so that's what I wanted to talk about in today's video, and also why the people that you vote for in this upcoming election do matter. So if that's interesting to you, make sure you're subscribed and let's talk about it. This video is brought to you by StopBox USA. If you have young kids in the house, you can't just leave loaded firearms out, but you do still want them to be readily accessible and easy to get to at a moment's notice, and there is nothing faster than StopBox. Just input your unique code, push down, use your thumb, and you've got your firearm ready to go at a moment's notice, but totally safe until you need it. I've read 3 different articles today about the Garland v. Vanderstock case. And all 3 of these articles were obviously, to me, written by people that do not quite understand firearms and people that definitely haven't ever completed an 80% kit. The way that most of these people seem to understand it is the way that the government is arguing it, that it is so easy to turn one of these 80% Glock frames or an 80% AR lower receiver into a functional, dangerous firearm that, every one of these articles said things like, all you have to drill in some cases is 1 hole with your regular handheld drill, or file off 1 small plastic rail. Well, that is not really the case, and we all know that. I'm sure many of you watching these videos do understand that these things are not quite that easy to do, but that is how the government is arguing this case, that these 80% kits are that easy that with, you can get one without doing a background check, and within minutes, you have a fully functional firearm. Well, that is not really true, but this sets a very dangerous precedent, or it could if we lose this case. And this is why. So I believe that we should have the right to make our own firearms. It's been a right that Americans have had forever, since before the country was even a country. Now, I've built a lot of my own ARs, but I have built them with serialized lowers that I've bought, not 80% lowers. And the biggest reason for that is because I don't have the right equipment to mill out a chunk of aluminum, an 80% lower, correctly to make a functional lower receiver. Now, you can do it with a drill press, but for a lot of these things, you're not just making them with a handheld drill like they would have you believe. But the scary thing is that is how they're arguing it. And it looks right now like we might not win this case. As of time of filming, this is Wednesday. This video will come out on Sunday. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully we do win, but it's not necessarily looking good. Now, all of the Democrat justices, that they will be going against us in this case. And it only takes a couple of Republican conservative justices to join the Democrats on that side for us to lose. And that could happen. And this is why it is very important who you vote for in this election. Because many of these conservative justices that are in the Supreme Court right now were appointed by Donald Trump. So whether you love him or hate him, he has done a lot for our Second Amendment rights just by appointing justices that have done a lot to uphold our Second Amendment rights. Think Bruin. But before we get into the rest of this, let's have a quick word from our channel partner. This video is sponsored by Aura. You will never be able to afford a Staccato XC if you're getting hit with scammers all the time, and Aura takes care of that for you. In fact, They take care of all of your online security all in one place. You get a VPN, you get home title monitoring, parental controls, but the big one is you get data broker removal. Now, what does that mean? Aura goes online, you take just a couple minutes to set it all up, and then they scour the dark web, the regular internet, everything out there, and they find anywhere where your data has been leaked. And they submit opt-out requests on your behalf, which removes you from any of those lists. And what that does is it removes you from lists that are accessed by scammers and by spammers, and more than that as well. But I've been using it for about 7 months now. And you know what? I used to get calls all the time, people trying to scam me through my debit card, through my bank account, and it caused me a lot of problems at one point. I don't get those anymore, and I haven't gotten those calls in 7 months. I also don't get spam calls anymore. I don't get spam emails anymore. All of that stuff has been gone from my life, and it's really nice just to know that my information isn't out there anymore, and that I don't have to worry about getting scammed anymore, and I'm not receiving spam anymore. Those are the biggest things that Aura has done for me, which honestly has really improved my life and just kind of puts me at ease. And they can do the same for you. If you use my link down below, aura.com/sawtooth-tactical, you get 2 weeks free trial. That's 14 days to try it out and see if you like it. If you do want to stick with it, it's only $12 a month after that. And you get all of those things that I talked about earlier and more. I think that it is absolutely worth it. I appreciate them for sponsoring the channel. Now back to your regular scheduled program. What scares me about this case is the precedent that it could possibly set. Now, like I said, I haven't built any firearms from 80% kits. Not that I don't have any interest in it, but I don't have very much interest in it. To be quite honest, I've got no problem buying a Glock lower or an AR lower and building my guns out and doing a background check. I think that it's totally unconstitutional and we shouldn't have to go through that. But it's not a big enough deterrent for me to decide that I need to get 80% kits to build my firearms. But that's not the point. I think that this case is still very important, and this is the main reason. If they win and the Supreme Court basically decides that something that is readily convertible into a firearm is actually a firearm, then what's to stop them in the future from saying that an AR-15 is readily convertible into a machine gun, or even a Glock pistol for that matter, being that Glock switches exist? So you have to look at it this way. It takes less work, less machining, less skills, and less tools to turn a semi-automatic AR-15 into a fully automatic one. And it really doesn't take many tools, skills, or machining or anything like that at all to turn a semi-automatic Glock pistol into a Glock with the switch. Drop-in auto sears do exist, and they are things. And so what is to stop them in the future if they win this case and precedent is set that, something that is readily convertible into a firearm is a firearm? Well, then what's to stop them in the future from saying that an AR-15 is a machine gun because it is readily convertible, that a Glock is a machine gun because it is readily convertible? Because it does take less to make either of those semi-automatic firearms fully automatic than it takes to make most 80% kits into functional firearms. And this is why all of these cases really matter. Bump stocks. I don't care about bump stocks that much. I don't own one. There's a reason for that. I don't think that they make a whole lot of sense for, actual practical shooting. But you know what? That case was very important for other reasons. And this case is the same way. And so hopefully things do go in our direction. But right now it's looking like they may not. Luckily, we do have Justice Alito is on our side. And he was putting it this way in today's oral arguments. If you have eggs and onions and bell peppers, separate, does that mean that you have an omelet? Well, no, not exactly. But I think that the argument was put forth that if they come like from HelloFresh or one of these places and it comes as a kit to make an omelet, does that make an omelet? And the opposition was saying, well, yeah, it kind of does. Well, it's still just eggs, bell peppers, and onions, but it came in a kit. And so they're saying, and of course they're thinking about it in terms of this case, which they want to say that these 80% kits are firearms. So of course they're going, well, yeah, then that is an omelet. When really, it's no different than me buying those, things separately at the store. It's just that it got, mailed to me in a kit to make an omelet. That's kind of a scary thing that they may actually win this case. And then, like I said, what is to stop the ATF in the future from handing down a final rule that, an AR-15 is a machine gun just because it's readily convertible? Because all you have to do is drill that third pin and put a drop-in auto sear in. Or even without the third pin, there's drop-in auto sears that'll just sit in the pocket of your lower, or lightning links. You don't have to do hardly anything except for take the back plate off the slide of your Glock to put a Glock switch, which is essentially a drop-in auto sear for a Glock. All of those things are not difficult to do if you understand how it works. I think, honestly, they're probably significantly less difficult to do than milling out an 80% AR lower, which is, a hunk of aluminum in the shape of an AR lower, but without the fire control group pocket milled out and without your holes drilled. And so you need the right jigs and you need the right tools and bits and everything else in order to do that correctly. That, to me, takes more work, more skill, more tools, more machining, I know I've said this already, than it does to measure, drill the third pin, auto sear in your AR lower. And so I think that, if they're able to set precedent, again, going back to what I said earlier, but that, these 80% kits are readily convertible, and so that means that they are firearms. Well, then what keeps them from saying that an AR or a Glock is a machine gun if it is readily convertible? This is scary stuff, and we need to stay on top of it. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a like. Make sure you subscribe to Sawtooth Tactical. Let me know what you think about all this down in the comments, because I think that this could be a bigger deal than a lot of people really think that it may be or give it credit for. From Sawtooth Tactical, stay strapped or get clapped.